Oh, hello. My name is Mara and welcome to Books Like Whoa. So this is another bonus video in my little New Year, New You series of videos, which is where I'm doing a couple of sort of end of the year relevant content on things that I know or care about that I know a lot of people are looking into kind of as New Year's resolution things, or like, oh, I'm going to start something new in the new year. So I thought I would just put out a few bonus videos. This will not get in the way of my normal bookish content, though today's video is related to books. And that is, I thought I would share with you a couple of spreads that I do in my bullet journal that are related to books. Now, I totally get that bullet journaling is not a thing everybody's into. I do think that it is also a topic that is used by people to show contempt towards women sometimes, which I'm not here for. But if your general attitude is like, that just doesn't seem like it would be helpful or fun to me, like, totally fair. For me, what I like about bullet journaling is that because you're the one making the layouts, you get to decide how detailed or not detailed they are. And for me, that sometimes even varies on a month-to-month basis. So like some months I'm like, oh, okay, like I have some things I'm really wanting to track, so I'm gonna kind of set certain spreads up for this month. And other months, literally, I just have like tasks to do this month and then like a view of my overall calendar, because that's all I really need for the month. So that's why I like bullet journaling, because I don't feel wasteful about pages that I don't end up using in a journal. I also do like the fact that bullet journaling kind of allows you to integrate like your more day-to-day schedule things with more like life reflective things or like life goal things. So again, for me, it just is something that works well. If you don't know what bullet journaling is, like, there's plenty of other videos that will explain it much better than I can. So I'm not gonna get into that, but I did think it would be fun to share with you guys some things that I do in terms of like spreads that I use for planning booktube things or for tracking reading. So I think what I'll do is I'll probably have like in this area as we're going through like a close-up of what I'm talking about. I'm assuming that future me is gonna take some pictures to put in here, but I thought that I would just show you guys some of the spreads that I do. Okay, so something that I did in 2018 that I'm definitely gonna do again next year is that at the beginning of the year, I wrote out kind of a I want to read list. And what I did was I picked, I guess, probably about 30 books and literally just have like title and author and then rating as my two columns. And it, I think, has been a cool way for me to go back and see which of these I actually got to versus which ones I didn't. Now that I had to switch journals mid-year, which is another thing I like about bullet journaling, is that you don't have to have it all in one book and you don't waste pages that way. But when I switched to my new journal, I transferred over the books that I had not yet read. For me, in terms of like overall goal tracking, I have definitely enjoyed and have used this spread throughout the year. So it's definitely one that I would recommend in terms of if you're somebody who likes to pick things, like pick a beginning of the year TBR, this might be something good. Or if you're somebody who does a monthly TBR, you could even do kind of just like a half-page version of this and use the bottom half for something else to kind of lay out what you're planning to get read that month. I've enjoyed, as I'm kind of doing some end of the year wrap up, seeing what I did and didn't get to and how good I am at picking a TBR. So I think that it can be fun for that. And also I like the idea in the future that I can go back and kind of see what I did and didn't get to. Another spread I did at the beginning of last year was a YouTube videos to make spread. And this I definitely refined when I moved it over. I'll show you guys that here in a second, kind of what I had down. But I did find this really helpful to kind of just keep a running list of ideas that I had. I also liked, I ended up putting some check boxes up here of the videos that I knew that I was gonna be doing like on a frequent basis, so I could keep track of how many I did. I didn't end up keeping as good of track as I thought I would in that, which was a lesson learned that I took over when I migrated into my new journal. But I think having a spread where if you are a booktuber and you make YouTube videos, having just a spread where you're keeping track of like overall ideas, even if you haven't like listed them out yet, can be really helpful. And one of the things that I learned when I was doing this particular spread was that I wanted to leave more blank space and didn't want to get as like detailed at the beginning of the year, because as time went on, I was running out of space to just write down my ideas. So this time I think I spaced it out a lot better, and I'll be able to use this going forward into 2019 2019 to continue to track some of the ideas that I have. Another spread that I thought I would show you guys was last February when I was doing like a romance themed video month. I had a lot of videos up about romance. I made this spread when I was planning it. Now, this is more detailed and I haven't really done it since then, but I think I found this really helpful to kind of conceptualize what type of a list spread would be helpful for me for BookTube. But I think that this could be, you know, you could reuse this kind of idea for a lot of different types of spreads. So this is one of my first Know Your Tropes videos. And through this, when I had like things I love and things that I hated, I realized I had such long lists that I wanted to split it up, but you could definitely kind of leverage this for some sort of list spread. And then these were my where to start with videos. And so I kind of broke them up into 4 quadrants, and this sort of helped me just get organized in terms of having all of the things I wanted to talk about on one spread. So when I filmed all of these at the same time, and it was easier that way. So another spread that I found that I actually have never done, so maybe I'll see if I can blur some of this out because I might do it, is I used this spread to come up with an original book tag. So I kind of named it at the top and put the post date and all of that stuff. But anyway, if you're ever coming up with a tag video, you could potentially do that in a bullet journal. Okay, and then I'll show a better picture of this up close, but I found my March Mystery Madness TBR list here. So again, just another idea, like I was saying, with kind of a half-page spread idea for a TBR list. So if you're doing like a readathon or challenge, that could be helpful. And then the list that I've gotten the most use out of in terms of a book spread, and that I optimized and improved when I moved it over into my new journal, was that I started my arcs to be read list here. So in my original version, I had the title and the author, when I received it, when I read it, the rating, and whether or not I'd posted about it. And I actually found as time went on that, oh, I forgot to put what day it was published. So I started using color coding over here, and I didn't find that to be the best layout. So when I moved to my new bullet journal, I changed it, I really simplified it and changed it to look more like this. And in this case, I literally just put title and author, what the release date is, and if I've read it or not. And for me, I found that to be the most helpful data that I have. And so this is one that I am only going to use through the end of this year, and then I'll roll whatever ones are on here onto my 2019 list. But if you're somebody who gets arcs, I personally have found this helpful to have kind of with my scheduling, something to have near like where my calendar and stuff is. I've liked having that. And then finally, another just sort of BookTube related spread that I think is helpful is I have just literally like list dump idea pages. And literally what I'll do, so like, for example, I'll try, you know what, I'll insert like a close-up of one of these lists, but I literally just like put a little title, and then I list out all of the either points I want to talk about or the books that I want to talk about. And I find this really helpful as just sort of like a working list kind of spreads where I can always refer back to those and make notes when I think of them in kind of a consolidated area. And then when I'm done with them, I usually put like a little check mark next to them so that I know that I've done the video. But yeah, I found this is like probably one of the most functional spreads that I've had for BookTube in my bullet journal. Oh, and then actually I just noticed that I do, well, okay, there's other things on this page, so I don't want to fully show it to you. I'm going to insert a close-up. Sometimes on my task list pages, I will insert like which books I have to read because of ARC/library timelines in that week or month. And I do find that really helpful. Like if I have things that have some sort of time sensitive elements to them, to have a list with my tasks of exactly when those are due, so that I know like, hey, I've got this library book due in 2 days. I've got that arc that I need to read in 4 days. And then I have another library book due in 5 days. It helps me kind of figure out when I need to read those. Though I have gotten better about not having those stacked so much back to back. It can be helpful, I think. And then 2 other things that I'll just mention. One is that sometimes I'll just take a blank page, write the title of a book on it, and then take notes on that book in my bullet journal. So for some books that like are more like personal development kind of things, if I'm like wanting to take notes on it so that I can act on it or journal about it, then I find that helpful to kind of collect my thoughts. And then I'll insert like a little closer picture because there's not a good way for me to show this to you without accidentally showing you more than I want to. I also use it to count at the beginning and ending of the month what my YouTube subscriber count is, just because I think that's a cool kind of thing to know as time goes on. Like when I'm looking back in my 2018 journal. Like, let's see if I can find where I was at the beginning of the year. So like when I look back at the beginning of 2018, like the first time I did this was in February and I had 409 subscribers, and now I have like more than 2,000. So it's just, I think it's cool in terms of like keeping a journal piece of it to be able to kind of like just have a record of your growth. And maybe I'll do an end of the year. I hadn't thought about this, but maybe I'll put like in my wrapping up my 2018-ness in my journal, I might like chart that, because I think that would just be sort of a cool memory to hold on to. And then I also do just a kind of tally book counter on my overall like calendar spread, so that I can see just like at a high level how many books that I've read. Sometimes like when I'm less crazily busy and when I'm using this more for like actual journaling, I'll put like on the day in my planner that I read a book, I'll make a note that I read it, just so that I can go back and literally even see what I was reading on a week-to-week basis, because I just think that's cool. But when I'm like lately I've been busy, so I've been using this much more as like an actual planner and less as the journal side of it, so I haven't been doing that as much. So anyway, those are just some kind of like bujo, which is kind of a funny little acronym, but little bujo / bullet journaling spread ideas if you are a reader or if you are a booktuber. I do really like bullet journaling as a way to stay organized and a way to have like some level of creativity. Like I think the way some people do like coloring books or whatever, sometimes in the evening if I'm not in the mood to read, like I will just take, usually like once or twice a month, I will take time and like set up spreads while I'm watching TV or whatever, as sort of like a creative moment and outlet and a way to kind of get organized that both helps me in the short term on a day-to-day basis stay organized. But like I said, also I just think that these are now kind of cool documents of like what my actual day-to-day life is like. So I have like, you know, more journal-y things mixed in with like my more practical things. I really like it, even though it's not for everyone. I enjoy it. But anyway, I hope you guys found this helpful. There's just some ideas that I have. And by the way, I'm sure that I've cribbed a lot of these from other people. These are just my versions of it. So I'm not saying any of this is original. This is just like my version. But anyway, I hope you guys found that helpful or enjoyable. If you did, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below. And I think that will do it. I hope you guys are having a really lovely day, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!